I don't want to say WWE's bad, but it's definitely not good. And it's taken me a while to realize this for a simple reason. WWE is transformed, and Michael Cole will tell you. He'll tell you every single week Raw is the longest running episodic show in television history. And I think that's part of the reason why I finally realized that WWE, I don't think is ever necessarily going to change. When I was growing up, my favorite thing about tuning into Monday Night Raw was the characters, the wrestlers themselves. I can't really tell you every angle they did. I can't really tell you all the crazy shit they did on a weekly basis, but I can tell you The Rock, Stone Cold, their catchphrases, their movements, their charismatic ability to electrify the crowd, no pun intended. When they came out, you knew shit was gonna happen, right? When the Dudley Boys were in a 2-minute match, regardless if it was a short match, fast match, whether it was in and out, you knew as long as they got the damn tables, shit was going down. And I think WWE's evolved so much to this point where anytime WWE does something, there's this connotation in fans' head that they're either being buried or something's wrong or something's happening. And because of the backstage politics, a lot of the times that's probably the case. They're like, as much as I want to like doubt it, there probably is something wrong. There's probably a writer that's new or a writer that doesn't care about the storyline, or Vince just went cold on these people for no damn reason when they're an A+ talent. And that's one of the things that I think is starting to be hard to accept as a fan in WWE, because AEW, which, man, I haven't bought pay-per-views since the late 2011 and 12 run, when I was like on top of the game with YouTube, when I was buying the pay-per-views before the network came out, and I was buying them for like 50 or 60 bucks a month. And All Out, I split it with Macho T. And as I'm watching All Out, it was the simplest storytelling. There were matches, especially with Cody and Shawn Spears, and then they announced Cody Rhodes versus Jericho at the pay-per-view, the next one, Full Gear. And some people went, why? What? Wins and losses? Like, I don't know what to tell you. He hasn't lost yet. It does kind of mess up the first couple weeks of TV, but when you look at an actual product and like, okay, we get it, right? It's not this just randomly looking at a belt. It's not Corbin coming out after losing and losing and losing and losing and losing and saying, well, I could do it this time. Because you know he's not going to do it this time. Because in WWE, it's like we don't have wrestling characters anymore as far as wrestling performers, right? Like, take Jon Moxley's word, Dean Ambrose, right? If you want to be a performer and you want to go out there and just make memorable stuff, WWE is probably not the place for you, right? Because WWE is now so structured where I was listening to the Deadlock podcast, which you guys can go listen to. I'll link in the description. The homies, Pulse, Marcus, Tony. And, you know, one of the things that I was hearing, and one of the things that really stands out to me the most is WWE just, it does seem so manufactured. He was talking about like a superstar will leave and then they'll come back and say, the reason I didn't get TV time was because of this superstar. And then WWE just repeatedly keeps doing that with Naomi, with Carmella, with Natalia, with everybody. And especially with the women's division, right? Like, I love Becky Lynch, the man. I love Bayley. I love Sasha Banks. I love Charlotte, all for different reasons. They've had great runs over the last couple years, but we're at this point now where Bayley finally turned heel, right? This should have been a huge deal. This should have popped me, because going back to the Izzy days, she was a fan favorite. You knew this heel turn was coming, but what stood above it? It was the friendship of Sasha Banks and Bayley. That same friendship that we all wanted them to turn on last year and said, listen, we want Bayley versus Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. And then WWE didn't do it. And then they put them as a tag team and they became the first ever tag team champions. And then they won the tag team champions at WrestleMania. And then they didn't do a damn thing with them. They didn't do a damn thing. They lost them at WrestleMania. The Iconics won, and you know, the previous year, the Iconics took out Charlotte Flair, which allowed Carmella to cash in and basically get Charlotte Flair out. So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, WWE seems like such a manufactured product this year, where they look out a year like a television show, right? So there's no spontaneity. Like, tuning in and seeing The Rock or Stone Cold react to something that's going on in the real world, yeah, you may get the references, or Corey Graves is making an AEW reference and people think he's taking a shot at him or things like that. But you don't get that spontaneity, Vince Russo based, and I I hate bringing up Vince Russo, but that's like the one thing Vince Russo was good at. Was Vince watched a lot of reality television and things that got you hooked and kept you coming back the next week. I mean, literally, look at Smackdown. The damn Rowan storyline did not have me coming back next week, and reportedly it cost the writer his job because it was so botched, and Vince was tearing up the script and everything that was going on. So there's nothing keeping me coming back to WWE, because what seems to happen is the Bailey Sasha thing, right? It was this Bailey heel turn. I should have been popping. But it's like, this was such a long time coming that when it finally happens, you're so burnt out by the point that you get there. It just sucks. And I think the big reason for it is, if you go back a couple years, right? It was, I was in the stadium for WrestleMania 32. It was in Dallas. We were in the ROH club or the Ring of Honor club or whatever it was. And we watched this, and this was Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha. And they were competing for the new title, right? They were getting rid of the Divas title. They were bringing in the women's title. And then Charlotte Flair won that match. There was no Bailey in that match. So everybody's like, well, there's no Bailey. The next year, Bailey goes in as champion, and Bailey walks out as champion. Then the next year, it's the Charlotte versus Asuka match, right? Where Charlotte again goes over and kills Asuka's streak and wrecks it, and just for some damn reason, because Charlotte, is the queen. And then you had the Nia Jax and you had the Alexa Bliss storyline. And then what happened? The next year, it's Becky Lynch's turn to go over Charlotte. So naturally, we could be heading towards a 4 horsewomen or a Bailey versus Sasha Banks storyline at WrestleMania. And that's where you lose that spontaneity in WWE, because the stuff seems so planned out that by the time you get that word that, not really supposed to be saying anymore, the payoff, it's like, wow, there's one moment, and then they don't build anything on it. It's just over. Like, we've wanted for years Bailey versus Sasha Banks. We wanted them to turn on each other, right? But the friendship kept enduring, and they went to the tag team titles, and they became the first ever tag team. So they're going to become the Triple Crown or whatever it is for the women, because they've now won all the titles, I do believe. And it's in that scenario where it's like, that's cool and all. So I'm happy Bailey turned. And I think one of the reasons it's really confusing us is because we thought this was going to happen a long time ago. So in our heads, what we're seeing on TV is like, WWE knows where they're going with this, right? Like, that's what I'm trying to get at, is like, they know where it's going. So we're just going to keep shouting, they should do this, they should do that, they should do this, when they've already made up their damn minds. Like, our input isn't going to change anything. I mean, I think like we may think it'll change something, like even the Becky Lynch thing. When you look at it from the fact that, Charlotte had her moment, Bailey had her moment, Sasha Banks still has yet to have her moment, Becky Lynch had her moment. If I was a betting man and looking back on this video, I would probably say this is the year that Sasha Banks, for some damn reason, goes into WrestleMania and wins. Because WWE wants to layer in these women, just like the Shield, right? Like the Shield, one could beat the other, but the other couldn't beat the other. And it was this 3-way thing where they had to layer them in, where ultimately Roman was supposed to be the top dog, but Roman couldn't slay it, and Seth did. And it's like, they're trying to write out Hollywood damn movies in the WWE when we don't need Hollywood damn movies. Like, if that makes sense. I think like I was drawn to The Rock and Stone Cold. I don't remember a lot of his builds. I remember his matches. I remember his charismatic ability. I remember his personality. I don't remember all that other stuff. So like, as you're trying to like write this Hollywood movie and you're supposed to have this blockbuster ending and all this crazy stuff, what gets lost in the moment is that like anything can happen type vibe, and you wreck and set yourself up for a lot of fans just complaining and getting upset about it. And Fiend is the best example. When Bray Wyatt was first coming around and getting pushed, Bray Wyatt was over with the fans. The fans loved him. And WWE messed it up because he could never win, right? He just, for some reason, he couldn't win. And when he finally did win the title, he lost it to Randy Orton, and it pretty much buried him, and he didn't do anything else. So Bray Wyatt reinvented his character, and he came around with the Fiend. Now, back then, everybody's like, why can't Bray Wyatt win? Why can't he get title shots? Why can't he do this? Now that he's the Fiend, and now that the Fiend is like one of the best things going in WWE, because of how conditioned we are to like hate WWE and know they're gonna mess something up, we're all saying, when we used to say with Bray Wyatt, why is he not winning and why is he not in the championship matches? WWE went ahead and announced him in a championship match where he challenged the winner of Braun versus Seth in a Hell in a Cell match. And there's a huge portion of us now that are going, he shouldn't be in a title match already. That to me is so fucked up, and goes to show either we have changed as a fan, or else we are so conditioned by WWE just to not give a shit anymore. And that's the thing that sucks about pro wrestling. It's one of my favorite things since I've moved here with Pulse. Like, I've just been watching a lot more wrestling, and I'll be honest with you, it's been a lot of Beyond and Orange Cassidy and other promotions that necessarily aren't huge. Like, yes, I've been watching like the Being the Elite series and other stuff like that, but I've been watching a lot more wrestling that it's just literally the characters, right? Like Orange Cassidy, you could have Jim Cornette and everybody shitting on him. But when you watch these matches in these small buildings of 100 to 200 to 300 to 400 to 500 people, they are so invested in this gimmick that Jim Cornette shits on. They paid their money to see Orange Cassidy wrestle slowly. Whether you like wrestling slowly, whether you think it's stupid, whether you think it's disrespecting the sport, whether you think whatever, the paying fans, when Orange Cassidy is doing his shtick, are popping. And that's one of the reasons why Orange Cassidy is one of my favorite wrestlers out there right now. And I'm super passionate about what he does, and I'm so happy he's in AEW and he's going to get the spotlight to shine, because it's something that WWE isn't doing, right? Like, we have these characters that, and I'll say this because, like, I think I said this to Pulse one time last year, some people just want to see Nia Jax show up and wrestle, and they're willing to pay their money for that. And it's kind of hard to like to gulp in, but it's kind of true. But then they don't do anything, right? Like, so there's really nothing ever to latch on in WWE unless you latch on to their social media, because the only way you're getting any character development in WWE for the most part is like following them on social media. Like on TV, it's just not there. So when you're on the independents and you have guys like Dean Ambrose going over to New Japan, and to be honest with you, I didn't watch a lot of New Japan. But I made it a habit after every match that he did to watch those press conferences, because Jon Moxley, where he can just talk and be himself, was fantastic. And you don't get that within WWE, because like Moxley would say, they'd probably do it 10 times in the backstage. You'd be like, oh no, Dean, you look that way. You got to keep your eyes on the camera so Kevin Dunn can see into your soul and understand your motive and reasons for why you did this. My reasons? I lost the damn match, so I beat him up. You see what I mean? Like, it's something that's lost in WWE because it's so manufactured. So like a lot of these characters, like Nick Gage, right? I still don't understand the whole CZW deathmatch, like willing to kill yourself stuff. But then you see like Nick Gage versus David Starr, and you see them literally willing to do whatever to win this match and beat the hell out of each other. Or you see like the Orange Cassidys, who when you watch him wrestle, or you try to like, how would you explain Orange Cassidy to somebody? He goes out there and just, who cares? Who gives a shit? The paying fans, like, honestly, like, pull up a Beyond Wrestling or an Internet Wrestling television championship match that Orange Cassidy is in, and spoiler alert, he's probably going to win via Lama Histro. But the crowd is so invested. Like, one of my favorite matches was Joey Janela versus Orange Cassidy. Joey Janela comes out and he's imitating Orange Cassidy. He's got the hands in the pocket, he's got the glasses, and as stupid as this sounds, right? If I'm explaining this to you and you just want to have a banger match, you want to see New Japan 5-star, Dave Meltzer 5.756 matches, it probably ain't for you. But something so simple as him taking off the glasses and them swapping glasses pops a room of 200 to 300 people. Why the hell should that pop people? Because Orange Cassidy has built up his own shtick, his own personality, his own character, and that's what draws me to a guy like that. That's what draws me to wrestlers nowadays, to where I don't give a shit if you're with WWE. I don't give a shit if you're with AEW. If you're a good wrestler and you have something that I can get invested in, that says a lot more than about the storyline that you're in or something that you're forced to do. And that's like one of the cool things, right? Like Sasha Banks took a vacation. WWE is finally getting to this point. You heard Punk say it on the panel, like, oh wow, that was nice. Why couldn't they do vacations when I was there? And now we're in this era of wrestling where you know they're going to be taking vacations, right? Like we all complain, like, why is Finn losing to the Fiend? And why is Finn leaving? Oh, I bet he's unhappy. And then he gets married. So it's literally a vacation. Finn Balor's not getting buried. He doesn't have heat. He's literally getting married, and he's going to have time off because they don't need him right now. Because WWE is this damn manufactured television show where the most brightest superstar they had at one point, Finn Balor, isn't needed on goddamn TV because they have so much talent that they have to push these guys. So in a couple months, Finn Balor's going to come back and be like, hey, you forgot about me. And then he'll do his shtick for a couple months. He'll win a big match, and then he'll be forgotten about and swept back under the rug. And then he'll come out a year or two later, and WWE is just going to continue this damn cycle. So I don't know what to tell you as far as WWE goes. I think that's one of the things I've come to accept WWE, and it's one of the reasons I don't get as mad anymore, and I put up with it, if that makes sense, is because you kind of know how WWE works at this point. So if you're not happy with WWE, if this Bayley heel turn wasn't your thing because you just wanted Bayley and Charlotte or Bayley and Sasha Banks to turn on each other last year, but then they went on to win the tag team titles, and see, you knew that they should have faced each other because winning the tag team titles, they just ended up losing them at WrestleMania, and it was pointless. And that's exactly what fucking WWE wants. They want this manufactured bullshit where it's this long-term storytelling, because I believe I got suckered into it for a long time, to where like you can see it coming, but they know you can see it coming. They want you to see it coming. And getting invested in that moment's the thing that sucks. So take respect of the character work, like Sasha and Bailey, and they're put into crappy situations, but see how they do as performers. See how they're able to adapt to this shit. Because if they're able to make a shit sandwich look good and polish it up and make you want to eat it, that says a lot to the performers, not necessarily to the companies. So I think that's one of the big things that's been keeping me watching WWE, is to see how a performer can take something that's literally probably one of the worst wrote things, most manufactured things, and make me care about it. I think that's one of the reasons I still watch WWE. It's one of the reasons I still tune into Raw and Smackdown. It's not because I know Michael Cole's going to annoy the shit out of me on commentary. It's not because I know the show's going to probably suck. It's because I know the talented superstars that are in that company deserve better, and that's one of the reasons we keep coming back. And when they finally get that moment that even if out of 12 months out of the year, they get 1 month to look good. That 1 month they get to look good is like all we get in WWE anymore. So it's one of the things I look forward to. Like when a Ricochet finally does it. When a guy like Ricochet years ago wouldn't even have been a champion in WWE. So if WWE is not your thing, they don't have what you want now, go outside and look. Don't be afraid to go out and watch stuff. Don't be afraid. Don't sit there listening to Jim Cornette shitting on every superstar. And I still like Jim Cornette, by the way. I listen to his stuff, but don't be afraid to watch shit that's not typical wrestling. Because if the paying fans are popping for it, whether you like AEW, you hate AEW, you're WWE hardcore, you're never going to stop watching WWE, it's okay to watch something else. Check out something like a Joey Janela versus Orange Cassidy and see how a room full of a couple hundred people are popping for literally guys just fighting each other slow and eventually getting into actual wrestling matches and seeing acrobatic shit and just seeing the personalities of both of them shine instead of some contrived, long thought out storyline where Orange Cassidy wasn't on TV because this guy was shining, if you know what I mean. So that's where I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I don't necessarily think anything's going to change in WWE. I think AEW is definitely going to push their buttons and hopefully we get better storylines. But even if WWE sucks, the performers there are too damn talented. So shout out to all the performers that put up with all the crap and just kind of realize it's taken me a long time to realize it's just like a TV show. You're going to get your characters at certain times. It's kind of like when a TV show actor is starring in one show, but they got a new show coming out, so their role in this show is cut down quite a bit until the next season when the other show they were filming is over, so they can finally come back in full force. It's kind of like that. You're just going to have to get used to this new WWE where Finn Balor's going to take a vacation for a couple months. This dude's going to come back and be like, the reason I wasn't on TV was because of this. And you're going to go, well, I know you got married, Finn, but we'll pretend. And it sucks you got to look at it like that, but it's the new face of WWE. So until next time, guys, it's been your boy Tummy. Thank you so much for watching. And if you do watch stuff outside of WWE, what is something you enjoy watching? Let me know in the comment section below. What's something that you go out of your way to never miss? Like for me, in the last couple months, it's every Orange Cassidy match that I've tried to watch, and then it was every Dean Ambrose promo in New Japan. What is something you go outside of your way, outside of the WWE, to watch because it brings you some sort of enjoyment with professional wrestling? Let me know in the comment section below. You can follow me on social media at TubbyEmu or at Tubbity. You can hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, so you don't miss any videos. And until next time, we will see you all later.
Problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like